Hello, hello. Welcome to another Cafecito, our last Cafecito of February. I cannot believe that February is literally like about to finish and we're about to head on into the next month, which is just impressive how time flies. But I'm just thrilled and excited to welcome all of you. And I'm even more excited to have here with me an amazing guest, Valerie Zolezzi Wyndham, who not only is she one of our board members here at United Latinas, she is also a dear partner in the DI consulting space and a very dear friend from very, very long time ago. I'm not even going to say how many years, but we've been together for a long time. I'm just so excited and thrilled to have you here, Valerie. Welcome.
Thank you, Iliana. I was so excited to have 30 minutes with you when we're not sort of doing DEI work or at a board meeting for some good conversation. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And today we're here to talk about how do we move from intention and ideation into impact, right? And I think I love this topic because I think you and I have had long conversations about that as well. Because I see a lot of people, and sometimes us as well, right? We have these big ideas or these big things that we want to do, but then something happens and then actually nothing happens. So I would love to start there. Like, what's your take on it? Like, what are you seeing from your end?
Sure. I mean, the first thing that I will say is that fear, right? Fear. So I think so many of us have beautiful dreams, right? And beautiful ideas about something that we want to see happen, right? Something that we need, something that we see other people need. And sometimes it's fear that holds us back. And so, the first thing that I want to say to each of us, and I say it to myself as well, is, you have to recognize that is a feeling that might be holding you back, and you need to name it, and then you need to let it go. Because unless you let it go, you're going to sit trying to perfect the idea, and then the opportunity goes away, right? And then there's the harm that happens to you, right? Because you had this dream and you weren't able to make it happen, and that can also hurt your ability to make things happen in the future. So fear and letting go of it is my first real tip.
And you bring up, I think fear stops us from doing a lot of things, and especially bringing those dreams to life. But we need those dreams. We need those, what we wake up in the morning and we just have these great things that we want to accomplish. And then throughout the day, something stops us. How do you find the courage, or how do you try to overcome that fear? What do you recommend that we try to do? Because the dreams continue to be important, especially in this day and age where we're in like this crazy fast-paced environment. That's the fuel in a way that keeps us moving forward. But then how do we overcome the fear that stops us?
Sure. So I think the first thing that we can do to manage the fear is to get a pen and paper or a pencil if you're a pencil person, right? Or a computer if you're a computer person, and to write down your dream. And once you write it down, what I want you to do is to make it really concrete, because your dream might be really big. And so I want you to ask yourself a simple question. What can I do that will allow this dream to come true this month, or in 2 months? And if you can get really concrete about, maybe not the ultimate goal, but the first several actions that you need to take to move that dream, right, from imaginary to a reality, that's what's going to help you to start letting go of the fear, right? Because then you can identify concrete steps that you can take that are going to move that goal forward. I think the fear comes from that the dream is so big, right? And so what do I do? And so, write it down and then start brainstorming. Like, what are things I can do today? What are things I can do this month that are going to get me to that dream? Because then when you look at that list, which is a manifestation of your dream, but it's a much more concrete thing, you can then create tasks that help you to take steps that are going to move you closer to it. And then, you still need courage to move those actions, but it's a lot more realistic, right? And so that concreteness is really, really important.
That is very true. Like bringing down these big ideas into something a little bit more tangible. Now, we are at the end of February, and maybe many of us, we started the year with this newfound dream of, okay, 2023 is gone and 2024, and I've heard it many times, it's just going to be an amazing year. I personally believe that 2024 is going to be an amazing year. And then life and reality hits. And it becomes a struggle to, okay, you break down things, you make your list, you start to take a couple of steps. It feels like we're moving in the right direction. And then something happens, and everything goes to the side. And how have you found, because you've had big dreams, I know, and you've overcome all of these great, challenges and barriers. How do we continue to fuel that, I don't know, like that drive, even when we have our plan, we have our actions, but still things continue to seem like, it just interferes in this process. And then it's sort of like slowly fades away, and then our dreams just like take the side and we become focused on the day to day.
Yes. Well, so I think the first thing that I'll say in response to that question, that really important question, is, that we have invitations every day to do many, many things. And I call them invitations, even though sometimes those things maybe aren't really an invitation, right? It's like something you have to do, right? Like the school calls and something happened to your kid, right? You have to say yes to that invitation, right? But there are other invitations that we get that are really distractions. And I think one of our challenges is that we accept them on automatic, and we don't stop to ask ourselves, like, is this distraction worth my time? And so then we say yes to it because we think that we have to, and then it doesn't allow us to focus on those goals that we have, those dreams that we have. And so I think it's imperative, and this is still something I work on. It is imperative that we have our goals written down so that when those invitations come, we can look at what we have, as the big goals for the year, and we can ask ourselves, like, is this worth my time? And then we have to say no. And I think what's hard, and I know for me as a Latina, for me as a mom, for me as a woman, these things can be difficult, right? I want to say yes to everything. I want to help everyone. And I need to say no to some of those invitations because if I say yes to that, it's not going to allow me to achieve my dream. And it's hard to say no to people. And so I think that's really important. We have to be willing to say no, and to say no with love, right? I say we have to be courageous and we have to show love. And so, I need to say to you, Ileana, I really would like to help you with that, but I have to say no, not because your goal isn't beautiful, but because I have something I need to work on. And so I think that is really important. The other side of that is that sometimes the interference actually is directed at your dream. And, in that case, then I think you need to stand firm in following your dream. And then you figure out how you're going to overcome that obstacle, right? How is it that you're going to get that no that's being thrown at you? And how are you going to turn it into a yes, right? Or into a pivot that's going to move you forward? Because that's where your energy should be directed, right? Instead of trying to help people do all of these other things that they want to do that aren't aligned with your dream. And that takes courage, and being steadfast and determined. But that's where you should be spending your energy.
You bring up such important points that I want to highlight. And the first one being, how do we say no with love? I love that because I know that you're big on, a lot of your values have to do with joyfulness and doing things with the sense of love and just being kind overall. But then it sort of feels contradictory to the word no, at least in our mindset. Sometimes it's like, well, but if I'm saying no to someone, it's sort of negative, it's sort of cutting on something. So how can I say no with this intentional love? And then as Latinas, I don't want to, talk for everybody, but I know that at least for me, it becomes an issue because family, personal family or extended family is one of our top values, right? I know that for me it is. So I want to serve, others, you and everybody else, even people that I don't even know. So saying no, it's sort of like contradictory to, but I love them. How can I say no? And this is important. And I know that, to them, it's important, even if it goes maybe not against my dream, but in a way moves me and deviates me from my dream, but I know it's important to them. So can you walk us a little bit more about with this concept of how to say no with love? Because I think there's that's a nugget that we all need to wrap our head around.
Yeah. So what do I mean with love? And I use that term also in my in the DEI work that I do. Right? We need to give people honest feedback, and we can be honest and we can show them love. Right? In this case, what I mean is, if somebody who I love asks me for help with something, and I have other priorities right now, when I say yes, I I really may not be positioned to help them the way that they need to be helped, right? Because I have these other things that I need to work on. And so I think saying no with love means saying, I mean, it doesn't mean not talking to them. It doesn't mean not having a conversation with them, but maybe it means, I think your idea is beautiful. And the way that I can help you is by referring you to my network, right? This person might be able to help you. Or I would love to help you, but I can't help you now. I can help you next year. So I think it's because if you say yes and then you can't do it well, or you do it and you're stressed and you're frustrated, then they're not actually getting, right? They're not getting the support that they need. And so I think when I say no with love, I mean that because sometimes the yes isn't what they need or isn't going to fully serve them. But that's a mindset shift that we have to make in our minds, right? And I think that is hard to do if you are their only resource. And so, what we can do is help our friends and family build other resources, right? So that they can call on others to help.
I love that because it's not saying no, like that's it. I'm not like move
Right.
away. It's sort of redirecting energy and resources in a way that becomes effective to others and to yourself, so that then you can continue to build on you and then also to empower others as well. So I love that concept. And Yoli, thank you for being here, saying that saying no is a beautiful form of self-care.
Yeah.
But also will allow us to nurture healthier relationships with ourselves and others. And I think that's very important because we keep on thinking on others, but we forget about us. And in that forgetting about us, then we forget our dreams, which we start going back to the starting part of the conversation. We have these big dreams that can create amazing impact, not only for ourselves, but for the people that we care for. But then they move to the side and they don't happen.
Right.
So it's a great reminder about that. Now, the other thing that you mentioned, which I want to touch on, is the energy piece in terms of how do you focus the energy around, again, coming back to because you need energy to be able to be feel empowered and drive that courage. If you are, you know, in a sad state or in a state where your energy is low, then trying to drive that courage to be able to stand up for your dreams and what you believe in, being able to say no, then that's going to be very, very hard to do, because you're drawing basically out of an empty right, an empty container.
Yeah.
How do you what do you recommend, or how do you build on that energy to then be able to take on all of these things that we need to do?
Sure. So I'm going to say that it is both about like physical and mental energy, and it's about sort of mindset positivity, right? Or a growth mindset. And so I think, we need to sleep more, and I'm working on that. We need to move more. We need to drink more water. I mean, I think there are things that we can do to be well that are going to give us the energy that we need, right, to focus on making our dreams come true. So I think running really fast isn't sustainable for long. And that's why sprinters, right, aren't good marathoners. And so I think we have to pace ourselves. I think sometimes we move too fast to try to make a dream come true, right? And then we don't take the time for it to really be built in a way that's going to execute excellence, whatever that excellence is, right, for the event, or the thing that we want to do. And so I think being well and then taking our time, I think that is what's going to help us have the energy to sustain, right, achieving our dream. So I think that piece is really, really important. And that's also why it's so important, if we're serious about our dream, we have to say no to other things so that we have the energy and the time to focus on that, right? So I think that's setting priorities and keeping them is really important, and having wellness as a priority to have the energy is vital. But I think that even when you have energy, you can have that energy and be spinning, right? Or avoiding the hard ask, right? Or the hard thing that is necessary for you to achieve your dream. And one of the things that I hear when I'm doing my casita work is that people are like, how did you make that happen? Like, we had this idea and then you just you figured it out. And what I will say is that you need both passion and confidence, right? I'm not scared to pick up the phone or to call you or to call somebody else to figure out how to get access to what I need, right? So that what I want to execute can happen. And so we need to have courage and we need to have friends who can connect that courage, right, to our dream. So, many of us don't have courage because, systems have beat it out of us, right? And so we need to have a support circle that can show us, that can remind us that we're worthy and that can help us to practice courage, so that then we can energize that or use that energy, right, to achieve our dreams. And so that's really important too.
That is a great point about having this support system, to guide us, to encourage us, to help us to open spaces, to remind us. But also, I think it's important to think about the support system as people that are going to push you to go, beyond your traditional whatever level of comfort is, right? They're going to encourage you to really get beyond, to be able to access those dreams. And sometimes some of us may surround ourselves with people that, yes, they may be there, but that might not push us to get to the dreams.
Yes.
So in those final moments right now, because we're about to get to the end of this cafecito, how do you find that fine balance between how do you have, the people around you that you care for, that love you, that are going to be there, and then the people that are going to challenge you and are going to take you to the next level, because they might not be the same
They are,
the
yes.
same people, right?
Yeah.
You might need like different groups of people for different things to be able to get to that dream.
Oh, 100%. So I think one, you have the people who love you unconditionally, right? And they're the ones who you go to when you just need like a hug, right? Or love. And the kind of love that's just like because you're not well, right? Um, and you need to have those people. All of us, we need to have those people. Um, but those are not necessarily the people who are going to push you, who have a growth mindset. I mean, they can be. I'm not, they can be, but if they aren't people who have a growth mindset and who believe in you and believe in your excellence, then that's not who you want to get advice from in terms of moving your dreams forward. And so one of the things I love about United Latinas, right, is that there is a network of amazing Latinas and others who want to see Latinas thrive, right? Um, and so that is the type of place, and those are the types of relationships that you want to be building, where you can have somebody who's going to be your accountability partner and for whom maybe you can be their accountability partner, right? And so I think it's a beautiful thing to have like a two-way coaching relationship with somebody where they know your dream and they're helping you to live your dream. And then on the other side, you're helping them because you're helping to hold them accountable to their dream. And and those folks have to have a growth mindset, and you have to trust them to push you so that you don't resist that push because they're doing it with love, because they want your dream to come true just as much as you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think it's important to mention that in all these layers of people that you're going to surround, or that we should surround ourselves with, um, not everybody has the same level of relationship in terms from a caring perspective. However, there should be some sort of synergy in terms of shared goals and shared interests and shared values, because then, to your point, that's where I'm going to be interested in helping you, even though maybe we've talked 3 times, right? But we have that common goal, and therefore we're gonna help each other. I'm going to help you, you're going to help me, because we have that shared goal. So that's also important. Not everybody has to be your BFF, but yes, definitely there has to be the common objective, right, at
Yes.
the end of
Yeah.
the line.
And so what my advice would be, you are looking for somebody with whom there's like a chispa, like, a little flame that ignites, right? Um, and I don't think I share this story very often, but my casita crew, they're new friends, most of them. They are people who, as my dream was coming to reality, also believed in my dream. And so we now, you know, do that work together, and now are dear friends, right? And so I also think the other part of finding somebody who shares that flame with you is that you then will build more relationships, right? That can become really important and meaningful, just love relationships, right? Um, but then there are people with whom you can continue to grow those dreams. And I can have those relationships and still have relationships with others, right? And so I think sometimes it's like we feel like we have to pick, or we can only have one group. But no, right? We can have our familia, and we can have our like childhood friends, and we can have the folks with whom we're making these dreams come true. And and that's okay, all of it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're out of time.
Yes.
Any final words? And I also, I think, I thank you for bringing up Casita, because I wanted to touch a little bit more on that, but we're out of time. But
Okay.
any final words, and we'll have to do a part two.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, I think that what I'm going to say, we're at the close of Black History Month. We're about to start Women's History Month. And so what I want to say is, like, whatever dream you have, like, start working on it and find somebody who will be your partner, who is going to hold you accountable, who's going to push you, and then just believe, right? Believe in yourself. And so that's my wish for folks for March. Baby steps, right? Each step leads to another, and that's how we achieve our dreams. So thank you for having me, Liana.
Thank you so much. And you're not alone. You have this beautiful community of people that maybe you know, and people who maybe you don't know, but can become, your supporters no matter what, because that is our goal, just to support each other and thrive, because we deserve it. We're awesome Latinas, right?
That's right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Check out our website for all the events that are happening in March. We have so many exciting things. We have the launch of our Extraordinary Latinas book, Volume 3, happening on March 6th. We have our summit happening on March 21st. We're starting to have a lot of local events. Valerie is actually hosting one in Worcester, and there's a couple of others happening in Jacksonville. And I'm blanking right now, 2 other places as well. So check us out on our website and follow us on our different social media platforms so you're in the know. And if you want to host an event, or if you want to continue to be a part of this community and just make your dreams come true, reach out to us. We're here to help. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day wherever in the world you are.
Bye.